BBC, inspiring Uganda.
Set. Now I want to request all of you to rise for the national anthems. Please take your seats. Once again, I take pleasure to welcome you, honorable ministers, your technical teams and heads of agencies. On behalf of the presidency and in particular the Manifesto Implementation Unit, and the Manifesto Week is all about bringing to the attention of the country and our citizens on the progress of the commitments that we made in our social contract for this term of 21 to 26. But our focus mainly will be what we have been able to deliver on within these 2 years in the term. Right, honorable ministers, allow me to introduce to you the team that I work with and other big people who are with us. Let me start with the Senior Presidential Advisor for Wenzor Region, who is with us here, Mohindo Christine. Sorry. I have the Deputy Director of the unit, Mr. Fred Kamjira. I have the Assistant Director, Mr. Richard Bakoja, and our technical teams, the other side. Please stand up for recognition. Honorable Ministers, you know, in the Cabinet, we had, when my minister informed you that this activity will be partnering with the Minister of ICT and National Guidance, and in the House are also present of technical teams from this ministry, of which we have been executing this mission together. So I would like them to stand up for recognition. Media Center and Ministry Headquarters. So, honorable ministers and your technical teams, I have already gone through the introductions. We will start with you, the Right Honorable Minister in the Prime Minister's office in charge of general duties. And then after your presentation, we will invite the Honorable Minister of Science to make her presentation, and then the Q&A session will combine the two presentations for purposes of managing time and our stay here. So allow me now to use this singular honor and pleasure to invite you, Right Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba, the Minister in charge of General Duties in the Office of the Prime Minister, to come and take us through on the commitments that we made, which are being implemented under the office of the Prime Minister. The floor is yours, Right Honorable.
Thank you so much. Honorable Musenero, Minister in charge of Science and Technology, senior presidential advisors, technical people present, all of us gathered here. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Office of the President for organizing this to make us accountable to the country, to the Ugandans who we've signed with a contract in the manifesto that we shall be able to deliver the following in black and white stated to the whole country. I come from the Office of the Prime Minister, and our responsibilities are majorly three: coordination of government, ministries and agencies, and also with the private sector and all the non-state actors to make sure we implement the manifesto, forming policy, do the monitoring and evaluation, and inform policy. So we do the coordination role and also do the work of leading government in Parliament. In addition to those two, we also have another responsibility of the affirmative action programs and also the issues to do with the refugees and disasters in this country. So it is under the affirmative actions, you are aware we have Northern Uganda, we have Karamoja sub-region, Luweero Triangle, Luweero Lwenzori Triangle, we have Teso sub-region and Bunyoro. And in there, we also have Busoga embedded in. So our role today is to give a summarized accountability of what we pledged to do as NRM government and what we've been able to do. And I want to take this opportunity to invite the Commissioner, Timothy Rubanga, who is standing in for the Permanent Secretary as Accounting Officer, to come and say what we have been able to do, either using resources or without resources. Then I'll come back and give the political summary of it. I thank you. I welcome you, Mr. Rubanga.
Thank you, Right Honourable Minister, Honourable Ministers, the Director, Manifesto Unit, all senior government officials here present, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to have the privilege of making a presentation on behalf of the Right Honourable Minister and the Permanent Secretary Office of the Prime Minister, who is not able to be here because of another engagement. So the presentation of the performance of Office of the Prime Minister covers 5 areas of the manifesto. The first area is on ensuring justice and equity, and under that, the report covers the commitments in the chapter of public sector management and fighting corruption, and also the chapter on affirmative action on pages 251 to 254 and pages 255 to 258. The second area covered is on delivering education, health and water services, and the third area is on creating jobs and wealth for all Ugandans, and the fifth area is on protecting life and property. So in the first area, the sections that the report concentrates on is on reforming the public sector for service delivery and on fighting corruption. The second area under ensuring justice and equity is on affirmative action, and the report covers our detailed activities in the Office of the Prime Minister on affirmative action for war-ravaged areas. Under the second area, the sections covered are a provision of education infrastructure, health infrastructure, and large towns and water supply and sewerage. Under creating of jobs and wealth creation for all Ugandans, the report covers investments under the district, urban, and community access roads. And under protecting life and property, the report covers interventions on environment and natural resources management. So I will now highlight the key achievements under the above 5 areas. As introduced by the Right Honorable Minister, the NRM Foundation is based on justice, equity, and fairness. The OPM interventions are aligned to the chapters listed above, starting from page 250 up to 255, and the other areas that I will refer to. So in the first section of public sector management and fighting corruption, OPM has undertaken a number of interventions over the past 2 years to implement the above commitments. And these are, number 1, coordinating the implementation of government programs through organizing interministerial coordination meetings to resolve implementation bottlenecks and constraints to service delivery. Among the key achievement coordination areas covered are road maintenance challenges, the construction of the convention center to host NAM, the Non-Alignment Movement Conference that will take place later in the year, the relocation of persons affected by floods in the various parts of the country, drug stockouts in health centers, cattle rustling in Karamoja sub-region and the surrounding districts, the phosphates investment in Uganda, high cost of piped water umbrella, ghost teachers in schools and absenteeism of teaching staff, establishment of appropriate technology like the gamma radiation at the sanitary, phytosanitary facility in Entebbe, the 10% import duty on crude palm oil as a raw material, the VAT on dairy products, the non-trade barriers in the East African community, and so on, as stipulated in NDP 3 across the MDAs. So that's the first area under public sector management and fighting corruption. The second is coordinating and following up implementation of 20 investment development issues related to identification of short to long-term government interventions for improvement of quality of Uganda's agricultural fresh exports in the international market, basically in the EU and UK. Government decisions to cancel negotiations with SGS on the resumption of motor vehicle inspection. Supporting MS Rocco Construction Company to fast-track strategic government development projects in agriculture, water, energy, and works. Reviewing of MV Kawalega from Lake Victoria for cabinet decision. Retrieving of MV Kawalega from Lake Victoria for cabinet decision. Securing clearance for loan and grant for proposed climate smart agricultural financing project for a period of 6 years. Developing importation of industrial sugar to protect the local sugar producers through appropriate tax measures. Extension of a reliable water supply channel at Namamve Industrial Park as a measure to boost industrial business parks development. And supporting MAIF, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Uganda Prisons and the UPDF by enhancing mechanization, irrigation, rainwater management, access to identified farmland to increase on food and animal feed production. The third area of intervention has been coordinating and harmonizing the legislative agenda in which 37 bills were passed to facilitate investments, development, and national progress. For example, the Companies Amendment Bill 2022, the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Bill 2022, the Museum and Monuments Bill 2022, the Public Health Amendment Bill 2022, the Mining and Minerals Bill 2022, the Fisheries and Aquaculture Bill 2022, the Uganda Human Organ Donation and Transplant Bill 2021, and so on. The fourth area is aligning the national budget through the Presidential Advisory Committee on the Budget, popularly known as PACOB, to focus on service delivery areas in the Nrm Manifesto 2021-2026, the national and international strategic planning frameworks, including NDP3, SDGs, Africa Agenda 2063, and the East African Community Agenda. The fifth area is conducting strategic monitoring and evaluation and fast-tracking the implementation of government projects, programs, and projects across MDAs and local governments. A number of interventions in this area. One has been a robust evaluation of the performance of externally sourced loans and government projects financed through externally borrowed funds. Secondly, resource mobilization for UNRWA and Uganda Road Fund for road maintenance and rehabilitation. Assessment of management of private wings in government hospitals. Disbursement and utilization of the revolving funds in PDM circles. Evaluation of the impact of the $5 power tariff project in Buikwe and Kapeka industrial parks. Central government annual performance reports for the financial year 2021-2022, which was incorporated in the national annual performance report for the financial year 2021-2022, and the report made 91 key recommendations for improvement in the execution of government service delivery across all the 20 NDP3 programs. The office also prepared a national half-annual performance report for this financial year 2020-2023 to be discussed in cluster-level meetings with the NDP3 programs. Office of the Prime Minister has also conducted a comprehensive assessment of the local governments on local government management service delivery for the financial year 2020-2021 and 2021-2022 financial year to fast-track service delivery at the local government. So we have a comprehensive report with a ranking and detailed performance of all the local governments for those 2 financial years. Then enhancement of transparency and accountability in public service delivery through conducting 53 citizens' demand for accountability barazas in 40 districts and local governments across the country. Honorable Ministers, I would now like to show some photos that show summarizing some of the interventions listed above. The first photo projected on the screen, it shows the Right Honorable Prime Minister chairing one of the interministerial coordination meetings addressing the service delivery constraints listed above. On the right is a picture of the Right Honorable Prime Minister having an international engagement to facilitate implementation of government service delivery programs and also international relations to promote investment in Uganda. The next set of photos, the one on the left shows the Right Honorable Minister for General Duties, standing second left, presiding over the Baraza program in Chotera district. And on the right is the woman member of parliament for Fort Portal City with the minister for Luero Rwenzori Triangle, Honorable Alice Kaboyo, at a Baraza event in Fort Portal City. The next set of photos, on the left is the Minister of State for Bunyoro Affairs, Honorable Jennifer Namuyangu, officiating at an accountability forum in Rukunjiri district. And on the right is the community in Katwe Kabatoro Town Council in Kasese district, raising their concerns about service delivery as a way of contributing to monitoring the implementation of government programs. Honorable Ministers, Director, I would now like to go to the interventions covered under affirmative action programs, creating jobs and wealth creation. The NRM established affirmative action programs with the objective of uplifting or improving the lower socio-economic indicators in the deserving areas. The areas covered by the programs include, of course, as you know, Luero Rwenzori Triangle, Northern Uganda, Teso, Karamoja, Busoga, and Bunyoro, which are all areas which have significantly higher poverty levels than the rest of the country. The implementation of this program has contributed to reduction in poverty in these sub-regions over the period. And this is evidenced by the Uganda National Household Survey results for 2019-2020 that is produced by the Bureau of Statistics. And those results indicate improvements in poverty levels overall between 2016 and 2020. And in the presentation you have details. I don't think I will go through all, but you can see improvements. In West Nile, for example, poverty reduced from 35% to 17%. In Bunyoro, from 17% to 10%. In Teso, by 3 percentage points. In Bukedi, by 9 percentage points. And in Busoga, from 38% to 29%. However, we also note that poverty actually increased in the Acholi sub-region, in Karamoja, in Lango sub-region, and parts of Toro during the period. Now let me focus on the interventions under Northern Uganda. Over the last 2 years, the manifesto implementation guided the implementation of the following interventions under OPM for Northern Uganda. 1, supported livelihood enhancement and living conditions for the vulnerable groups and institutions like schools and churches with 19,263 iron sheets, 1 big rice huller, 1 maize grinding mill, 236 hybrid cows, 440 improved goats, and 6 parish community associations supported in Kitgum and Agago districts, 3 in each of those, to deepen financial inclusion. Secondly, the office completed the design of the 4th Northern Uganda Social Action Fund project, which is expected to commence in the new financial year, at least within the first quarter of the new financial year. And NUSAF 4 will cover 9 sub-regions. These are the sub-regions of West Nile, Acholi, Lango, Teso, Karamoja, Elgon, Bukedi, Bunyoro, and Busoga. And the project is expected to cost $250 million US, which will be funded through a credit and a grant from the World Bank. It has a component of a credit as well as a grant of $30 million. Additionally, under the Development Initiative for Northern Uganda, that's a project funded by the EU, abbreviated as DINU, OPM has been implementing the Development Initiative for Northern Uganda program for the last 5 years, and it covers 33 districts of Greater Northern Uganda. The objective of the program is well aligned with the manifesto and is to reduce the development gap between Northern Uganda and the rest of the country by focusing on 3 areas. 1, food security, nutrition, and livelihoods. 2, infrastructure, basically transport, logistics, water, and energy. And 3, good governance. In the 2 years of the NRM Manifesto implementation, the following achievements have been realized. 1, on food security, nutrition, and livelihoods, the project has supported the establishment of 6,104 demonstration sites, various enterprises, and 207 certified seed multiplication sites. This is very important, seed multiplication sites to support the communities. As you know, access to good seeds has been a major problem in the many parts of northern Uganda. Secondly, supported over 18,872 farmers with assorted agricultural supplies such as seedlings of eggplants, kumawiki, black-eyed peas, African eggplants, dodo and okra, beehives, hand hose, water cans, and other forms of seedlings, 242 sheep, 4,900 broiler chicken, 1,000 KTB beehives, 147,922 kilograms of cotton seed, and linking 22,756 farmers engaged in contract farming. That's really supporting the value chain of those farming communities. Number C, supported 13 SMEs with startup facilities amounting to or equivalent to 3,874,545 euro, or about 16 billion shillings through the Uganda Development Bank. And supported a total of 423 VSLAs in various forms, for example, providing village savings and loan associations toolkits and linking them to financial institutions. Honorable Ministers, under DINU, OPM also supported the construction of 5 livestock markets, 7 produce and general merchandise markets, 1 business and governance center, 1 honey value chain project, 1 labor-saving technology intervention, and 2 piped water supply systems. The investments are in the districts of Yumbe, Zombo, Omoro, Agago, Otuke, Kole, Amuria, Kapelebiong, Amudat, and Napak. The second area of interventions under DINU is on infrastructure development, and under this, Office of the Prime Minister supported the completion of civil construction works of the Gulu Logistics Hub, a very big logistics hub in the Gulu to support business development, industrial growth, and value addition in the Acholi and the Greater North overall. Installation of mini-grids in all the 26 villages in Lamuo district, which is ongoing, and 150 businesses were selected for the productive use of electricity and matching grant support. Rehabilitation of 405 kilometers of community roads, and these roads are in Abim local government, 94 kilometers. Amudat local government, about 50 kilometers. Ajumani local government, 120 kilometers. In Moyo local government, 144 kilometers, and so on. upgrading to bitumen standard of Atiak Laropi Road, about 66 kilometers, and about 35 kilometers of that has already been completed. Then OPM also completed the construction of 8 valet tanks, and the areas are listed there: Kurawoyan, Auskuyon, and Katotin in Amuda district. Also others in Kabong, in Kotido, and Lokoripi in Karenga district. That's in the Karamoja sub-region, as well as protected 14 existing valet tanks. And finally, under infrastructure development, the project supported completion of the construction of kitchen and firewood saving stoves in 3 schools in the vicinity of the valet tanks that were built, and installed 2 rainwater harvesting tanks. Then in the third area of support under the project, which is good governance and administration, the interventions included completing the construction of 7 community police posts in 7 districts of Karamoja sub-region, which is ongoing, and physical progress, and which is ongoing, and the level of completion is 70%. And this will be equipped with the 14 motorcycles, solar systems, boreholes, and furniture. Enhanced crime prevention and justice through training a total of 390 police officers in Karamoja in community policing methodologies and practices, and production and dissemination of 7,700 copies of the legal compendium on local government accountability and service delivery. Supported land registration and issuance of land titles to 49 institutional pieces of land. Supported the construction of 3 land offices in the 3 districts of Agago, Maracha, and Apache. Supported and facilitated issuance of over 4,006 certificates of customary ownership to individual land homesteads, and conducted 80 district dialogues and community engagements for peace. And as you know, these dialogues are extremely important in the areas that are affected by insecurity due to castle rustling and other factors in the northeastern part of the country. Honorable Ministers, Director, let me again share with you a number of photographs that summarize and highlight the interventions above. The first one on the left is the Minister of State for Northern Uganda Rehabilitation, Honorable Grace Kuyuchwiny, commissioning an ordinary maize milling equipment which was allocated to Kikosi Malum Farmers, a group in Gulo Industrial Park under the Northern Uganda Rehabilitation Program to support value addition efforts in that area. Then the second one is the construction going on of the Gulu Logistics Hub, administration block, and the container freight station. This is a very important and very big investment for supporting value addition and business development in the north, as I mentioned earlier. And then the third one, on the right, is the Atiak-Laropi Road, the famous Atiak-Laropi Road. For those of you who have traversed there, it's a very important connecting road, also supporting Uganda's business activity with Sudan and the neighboring countries. And it is being upgraded from gravel to bitumen standard. And that is funded under the DINO project. And the next set is a solar PV generation and storage system in Lamo under the mini grid construction. And finally, a water source protection, water protection measures which were installed for a valley tank. The next is showing farmers supported to add value to their produce. You can see the products that have been very well packed and ready for marketing. Then on the right, one of the farmers supported to establish a vegetable garden to improve nutrition in the community. And finally, one of the village savings and loan associations groups that is being supported, they are holding their consultative and planning meeting. Now, the next section of the report is interventions in the Karamoja sub-region. Excuse me. So under Office of the Prime Minister, government developed Karamoja Integrated Development Program, KIDP, as a development framework tailored to address the unique context and development challenges in the Karamoja sub-region. The overall objective is to contribute towards human security and protect conditions for the recovery and development of Karamoja. As a result of the program, there was total peace in spite of the recent cases and livelihood improvement. OPM facilitated the peace process in the sub-region in the first year of manifesto implementation. The office also spearheaded the discussion on the remedies to insecurity in the sub-region at Moroto district with the members of parliament, district councils, MDAs and security teams in the Karamoja sub-region. In addition, OPM held peace building and pacification meetings with crowd leaders, elders, security chiefs, women, peace committees, and youth, popularly known as Karachunas, in the Karamoja region, in the districts of Kabong, Kotido, Moroto, Napak, and Nabilatuk, and across border, and also facilitated cross-border meetings with the Turkana community leaders in Moroto. Honorable Ministers, Sir Director, amidst these constraints, OPM focused on interventions aimed at livelihood enhancement and improved access to social services in the sub-region. Particularly, it supported livelihood enhancement through procurement and distribution of 73,900 white gala, East African and exotic Boer goats, 105,044 iron sheets for the economic empowerment program to vulnerable households in Karamoja sub-region. Supported civil construction works for 8 education facilities, 2 classroom blocks at Morolem Boys Primary School in Abim, multipurpose hall at Kabong Secondary School, double-decker bed dormitory block at Pokot Girls School in Amudat, and multipurpose hall at Kabong Secondary School. This has improved learning environment in the 3 schools, in these schools, in terms of pupil classroom ratio, pupil desk ratio, and pupil latrine stance ratio. The office also conducted 50 community mobilization peace building initiatives and cross-border meetings to promote coexistence and awareness of government programs. These peace meetings are a very, very important activity in the Karamoja sub-region for service delivery. Honorable Ministers, Director, there are some photos to show this. The first is the Right Honorable Prime Minister interacting with the governor of the Turkana, Honorable Jeremiah Ekamais Lomorukai, and the Minister of Security, Honorable Jean Muhezi, during a meeting at Hotel Africana in Moroto District. The governor of Turkana committed to supporting the government of Uganda fight against cattle rustling and security in that area. The second one is the Minister for Karamoja Affairs, opening a dormitory at Pokot Girls Seed School. And on the right is the minister, again, officiating at the provision of double deckers in a dormitory block at St. Andrew's Secondary School, Lotome. The idea here is that additional investment in boarding schools would promote education of girls, but overall reduce the very high level rates of dropout in the Karamoja sub-region because of the harsh conditions there. The next part of the presentation is focusing on the Luwero-Rwenzori triangle. And in the last 2 years, the Office of the Prime Minister has undertaken interventions aimed at livelihood enhancement and improved access to social services in the Rwenzori-Luwero triangle area. The key interventions are payment of a total of 6,959 civilian veterans who enormously contributed to the Liberation War, and they have been paid in recognition with a one-off gratuity, popularly known as Kasimo, in fulfillment of the pledge that was made by His Excellency the President to them. Secondly, supported livelihood enhancement through procurement and distribution of 22,841 iron sheets, 7,826 hand hose, 446 micro projects supported, and 114 parish community associations for the economic empowerment program to vulnerable livelihoods in the area. Thirdly, OPM commenced the construction of 5 residential houses for families of civilian veterans in Budaka, Wakiso, Nakaseke, Mukono, and Mbarara, and conducted 25 community mobilization and supervision monitoring meetings across the sub-region to create awareness of government programs and mobilize the citizens to participate in these programs. I have, again, some beautiful pictures there to show to summarize these interventions. The first one is the Honorable Minister for Luwero-Rwenzori undertaking political mobilization of the communities in the area to embrace government programs such as the PDM for livelihood enhancement. The second one on the right is the Minister of State, again for Luwero Triangle, Honorable Alice Kaboyo, engaging with the civilian veteran district leaders of Mitiana, Mubende, and Kasanda on matters related to socio-economic empowerment. The second, there are several other photos to summarize the interventions, including on the right there, yes, at the bottom, the next photo, some of the micro projects and parish community associations supported in the area. The next area will be the Teso sub-region. And under the Teso sub-region, OPM undertook the following. The portfolio of Teso Affairs undertook the following. Supported the rehabilitation of 16 kilometers of road covering the area of Abalanga, Idamakan, Surambaya, Imata, Omwa Road in Anyara and Ogolo sub-counties. The road is 50% complete and will connect 2 sub-counties and improve access to markets and social services. Supported construction of 2 boreholes in Kapere Pila Parish in Kalaki District, and the Otipe Primary School in Kumi Municipality, which improved access to safe and clean water. Supported the construction of 2 blocks of classrooms, each with desks and an office, targeting 220 pupils, 3 teachers, and a 5 stance-lined drainable pit latrine at Omito Primary School in Ngora District. In Ngora District, Aloit Primary School in Soroti City. And this has improved in the learning environment in these schools in terms of retention and providing suitable learning environment for the students. Number 4 is supported livelihood enhancement through procurement and distribution of 9,064 iron sheets, 148 micro projects, and 7 parish community associations for the economic empowerment of the vulnerable citizens from the area, and supported Soroti Regional Referral Hospital to procure an X-ray machine to facilitate access to health services in the sub-region. And finally, conducted 20 community mobilization and supervision as well as monitoring activities across the sub-region to ensure that the interventions are implemented properly. We have some pictures to show some of these interventions. The first one is a picture of some of the classroom blocks with an office attached, constructed in the Teso sub-region to improve the learning environment. And the second set of photos shows the community of Kalaki Health Center for receiving an ambulance donated by the Office of the Prime Minister through the Ministry of Justice Affairs. So far, the ministry has donated ambulances to the districts of Kalaki, Kapelebyong, Amuria, Ngora, and Soroti sub-regions. And then the next area covered by the report is the performance under the portfolio of Bunyoro Affairs. In the period of reporting, Office of the Prime Minister undertook the following. 1, supported livelihood enhancement through procurement and distribution of 9,274 iron sheets, 237 micro projects, and 14 parish community associations for economic empowerment program supported. Also, the ministry supported the construction of classroom blocks in Bigando Primary School, Masindi Municipality, to improve learning environment in the school, and conducted 21 community mobilization and supervision, as well as monitoring activities. And we have some pictures as well, again, to show some of these activities. The first one is Katwe Tombeke Women Group micro project supported in Bunyoro sub-region for income and livelihood enhancement. And the one on the right, that's the Honorable Minister for Bunyoro Affairs, Honorable Namuyangu. And that is the Chibale irrigation scheme supported under the micro projects in the Bunyoro sub-region to enhance agricultural production. Next, I will summarize briefly interventions under the Busoga sub-region. And under this, Office of the Prime Minister supported livelihood enhancement through procurement and distribution of 9,468 iron sheets, 40 micro projects, and 104,000 parish community associations for economic empowerment are supported. In addition, the office conducted 15 community mobilization and supervision interventions to track and improve the implementation of government interventions in the area. Excuse me. Finally, Honorable Ministers, the report concludes by summarizing interventions on the commitments in the manifesto on delivering education, health, and water services. Uganda maintains a strong commitment to hosting refugees in accordance with the 1951 Refugee Convention and in the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Over the last 2 years, the manifesto implementation of the manifesto implementation, government registered 159,292 refugees and processed 27,147 new asylum claims from REC. Currently, the country is hosting 1,529,903 refugees in the 13 refugee hosting districts, which include Ajumani, Isinjiro, Kampala, Kamwenge, Chikube, Chiriandongo, Chegegwa, Koboko, Lamo, Madiokolo, Obongi, Terego, and Yumbe districts. And this has increased pressure on the social services in these districts. The NRM government, through the Office of the Prime Minister, undertook deliberate efforts to improve social service delivery in the refugee hosting districts. One of the projects implemented in the Office of the Prime Minister to support interventions for refugees is called the Development Response to Displacement Impact, popularly known as Dr. DEEP. In line with the manifesto objectives to improve social service infrastructure such as roads, bridges, education, and health infrastructure in refugee hosting districts, Office of the Prime Minister, with support from the World Bank, is implementing Dr. DEEP, and in 2021, the following were achieved. Under social economic services and infrastructure component, a total of 85.7 billion shillings was disbursed to support construction of 185 school infrastructure, including classrooms, staff houses, dormitories, libraries, and laboratories, 29 health center infrastructure, including OPDs, maternity wards, general wards, and staff houses, 5 community centers, 170 kilometers of road, 14 small bridges, 3 administration blocks, and 2 mini piped water supply systems in 15 Dr. DEEP implementing districts were completed. On sustainable environment and natural resource management, a total of 18.8 billion shillings was disbursed to, again, the 15 implementing districts to support 469 sub-projects under the integrated natural resource management and improved access to energy in both host communities and settlements. A total of 40,626 households benefited from this support. And finally, under the component of support programs, 25.8 billion shillings was disbursed to support 1,699 sub-projects, out of which 1,461 were for village revolving funds and 238 for grants, again in the 15 districts. A total of 49,184 households benefited. Honorable Ministers, the first picture I want to show to summarize the interventions under this project is a very beautiful Kiriandongo District Local Government Headquarters that is constructed by this project. The second one is a photo showing Rwamwanja Primary School in Kamwenge District with a newly constructed classroom block. And then the third one is a bridge in Koboko District. It's called Kopu Bridge in Koboko District. The next photo is a woodlot in a Nyao watershed nursery bed in Yumbe District. Then under protecting lives, I will try to speed up. The interventions undertaken under protecting life and property, which is one of the key areas of focus in the manifesto. The office carried out 100 disaster risk assessments across the country, covering fire incidents at Bilal Primary School in Kawempe Division, Kampala City, the effects of floods, heavy rains, and landslides, food insecurity in Kasese, Abim, Kotido, and Moroto, Gulu, Amuru, Kitgum, and Lamu districts, and several other districts which were facing food insecurity. And this informed the disaster response and preparedness strategies. Also, OPM finalized district contingency plans for 21 district local governments, which are listed, including, for example, Chikube, Kamwenge, Ntoroko, Budubujo, and so on, as you can see in the presentation. Produced and disseminated 21 monthly Uganda National Integrated Early Warning Systems bulletins, providing information to farmers and communities about imminent and potential bad weather effects, and trained 8 district disaster management committees on disaster risk reduction and resilience in Moroto, Amudat, Kabong, and several other districts listed in the presentation, and developed the National Disaster Risk Management Plan, which was approved by Cabinet in October 2022. The plan will guide disaster response and preparedness interventions across the country over the NDP3 period, and supported 807,963 disaster-affected households all over the country with relief food and non-relief food items as and when they were facing a disaster shock or risk. And completed construction works for 22 housing units in Bunambutie, Bulambuli district for resettlement of landslide victims. Civil construction works for additional 42 houses is ongoing, which is at superstructure level. Honorable Ministers, Director, there are a number of photos to highlight and show some of these interventions. The first one is the Honorable Minister of State for Disaster Management and Refugees, flagging off 260 trucks of relief food to the Karamoja sub-region. And the second one is, again, the Honorable Minister of State for Relief, Disaster and Refugees, handing over items, food and non-food items, to the victims in Bundubujo district. On the right is relief food items delivered for distribution to victims, again, in the Bundubujo district. And the next photo is a classroom block constructed at Bunambutie settlement for disaster victims from the Elgon sub-region. These are people who were displaced by landslides, as you know. And finally, is a resting shed and house constructed at Bundambutia settlement for disaster victims from the Elgon sub-region. Now, I will conclude the presentation by highlighting some of the challenges in the implementation of the commitments in the manifesto, which OPM subscribed to. And the first one is inadequate budgetary provisions and also budget cuts and shortfalls over the 2 financial years. And this particularly is manifested and affected the establishment of the National Secretariat for implementation of the 20 NDP 3 programs, and also supporting the establishment of program secretariats in the 20 programs. As you are aware, Honorable Ministers, not all the 20 NDP 3 programs have established program working group secretariats as anticipated or as required by the plan, and that's one of the areas where there were no funds. The other is acquisition of transport equipment for both political leaders and technical officers, and especially given the nature of OPM, as you can see from the report, most of the interventions are field-based, and without transport equipment, the work is definitely constrained. Then timely response and provision of relief items to the hit areas due to inadequacies in the logistical capacity. Operationalization of the district disaster risk management plan, the national disaster risk management plan, implementation of key priorities under the affirmative action programs, and effective facilitation of the Right Honorable Prime Minister and all the political leaders to effectively preside and supervise the interventions. Escalation of commodity prices, which renders running contracts difficult to implement. Inadequate staffing levels in the key technical departments of monitoring and evaluation, strategic coordination, as well as the Prime Minister's delivery unit. And all these departments have less than 40% staff in station, and that affects capacity to effectively deliver. The final slide, Director, is on the planned interventions and measures to address some of this. The first one is to continue strengthening the institutional mechanisms and systems for effective service delivery, which will ensure real-time tracking of all MDAs and local governments' performance to achieve accelerated implementation of government programs, faster decision-making to facilitate investment and improve service delivery. Honorable Ministers, Office of the Prime Minister, working with the National Planning Authority, has developed a web-based monitoring and evaluation system which will be rolled out to all MDAs in the new financial year to support this, this effort. Secondly, a monitoring and evaluation of all MDAs and local governments by critically assessing physical performance and achievement of outcome targets based on key selected indicators. Fast-tracking the implementation of progress of selected NDP3 core projects and the PDM in the Prime Minister's delivery unit. Operationalizing and implementing the disaster risk management plan to improve the country's preparedness and response to increase occurrence of increasing occurrence of disasters. The office also plans to operationalize and implement the refugee settlement transformation agenda for refugee protection excuse me, and management in accordance with the international obligations, but with focus on improving the livelihood for refugees and host communities. Finally, continuing to implement affirmative action programs for economic empowerment of the vulnerable communities and persons affected by vulnerability and poverty in some of the parts of the country, and the implementation of the 4th Northern Uganda Social Action Fund to further empower and support household incomes of the affected persons in northern and northeastern Uganda and the areas covered under NUSAF. I thank you very much. I would like now to hand over to the Right Honorable Minister to wrap this up. Thank you very much for listening.
I want to thank my commissioner for the presentation, and I also want to thank you for listening attentively. But what we forgot to include was the issue on the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, for which are also coordinated under the Office of the Prime Minister. If you observe, our manifesto is 95 aligned to the SDGs, and our development plan is 98 aligned to the SDGs. So under the SDGs, where the Secretariat is under the office of the Prime Minister in the Post Office building, we had these activities. We have started on localization of the SDGs. We have translated the SDGs in the 6 major languages in this country. We have also had one high-level political national conference in Kampala to bring the different stakeholders together, those who are in the state, that is the executive, judiciary, and the legislature, and also the non-state actors like the Interreligious Council, the NGOs, the private sector, and the minority teams or tribes and the vulnerable groups. What remains of us is to bring the security institutions on board. We have also had 4 regional SDG conferences. We had in Mbale, in Hoima, in Gulu, and also in Kampala. And we have also participated in 2 high-level political UN conferences about SDGs in the different thematic areas. We also participated in the mid-term review of the NDP 3, and we have now given responsibility or augmented or reminded the different institutions of their responsibilities to be sure that we go beyond the 17% that we have been able to achieve under the NDP 3 for the remaining half, for us to conclude this current NDP 3 before we go for NDP 4. I want to thank you so much for the attention. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together again for a big applause for the presentation from the Right Honorable Minister and his technical team. I now want to invite the Honorable Minister of Science to come and present to the country how far we have gone. This is a very new area. Actually, it is one of the big achievements we did in the last term, the creation of the Ministry of the Science in the last term. So we look forward to hearing how far we are moving as far as the commitments are concerned. Honorable Minister.
The Honorable Minister, the directors, and the Commissioner, all that are available here, government officials, and the staff of the Manifesto Secretariat. I'm indeed privileged to be here today to share the commitments for the first time. Last year we were too young. We were too young to participate, so we hid under the table. But this year we are here. I am here together with a team coming from institutions that belong to the STI family. Allow me to introduce them quickly in a group. We have staff from the Secretariat, the Undersecretary, and the Superintendent in charge of industrial value chains I'll be talking about. We have staff from the URI, represented by none other than the Deputy Executive Director. We have staff from PIBID, represented by a strong team. We also, UNCST, over there, the acting executive secretary, and anybody else I've forgotten? Chiramotos of all. Sorry, Chiramotos, yes. So we are here to share the developments that have happened since the manifesto was launched. And I think you have to follow me. So the scope of the presentation, to talk a little bit about introduction, we have an executive summary, and then go through the array of accomplishments and end with some challenges and recommendations. By way of introduction, the Science, Technology and Innovation Secretariat at the Office of the President, as you know, is a new outfit. We are as old as the manifesto. And so it has given us advantage because we are growing with the manifesto. Because the Nrm Manifesto emphasized science, technology and innovation as a key driver for the implementation. It's also recognized in the NDP3, so it aligns with all the strategic documents to achieve the socio-economic transformation. And one of the things which had been recognized in all previous assessments was that there was so much fragmentation of science, technology, and innovation. And so the country has formed a national science, technology, and innovation system, which is coordinated by the Secretariat. And the Secretariat is headed by the Minister, who is the technical head. And our structure is a little different from many other structures, where the Minister is the head of technical, and the State House Comptroller is our accounting officer. On a day-to-day basis, she's represented by the Undersecretary, who does the day-to-day work. But we also have the institutions. These institutions were previously under different ministries, but when the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation was created, they were transferred there to have better coordination. And then we have a structure where there are two major units. We call them superintendencies. So we have the STI, Industrial Value Chain Development, which is headed by the Superintendent of Industrial Value Chains, and has 8 bureaus under. I'll explain a little bit more in the coming slide. And then we have support services. So in terms of understanding how we operate is to the left, to my left, that is where we have the technical science taking place. And to my right, their work is to convert the technical science which has been done into business enterprises, because the science has been focused mainly to impact on the economy. So to make sure that whatever we are researching is transforming into products on the market, where we're creating jobs and we are creating industries which are visible. The next slide. Our mandate as the STI mandate, as the STI Secretariat, is to mobilize, coordinate, and provide strategic oversight and policy guidance to scientists and stakeholders in all MDS, to local governments, to academic and research institutions, partners, media, and the public, along specific priority industrial value chains. So we don't participate in everything. We have specific industrial value chains which we are following. And the goal is to make sure that we impact on the economy by increasing productivity, import substitution, and export of knowledge-based products and services. And with our very popular slogan, making Uganda the best. So in terms of the institutions, we have agencies, we have the Secretariat, then we have agencies whose mandate has been mainstreamed, now streamlined. It has been streamlined. Uganda Industrial Research Institute, the main functions to undertake applied research so as to support industrial development. Science can take place in a university and they come up with something, but whatever comes out of there sometimes cannot go into an industry. So URI stands in between the universities and the market. They also carry out STI incubation. I think the Nakawa Incubation Center is among the oldest in the country, where innovators who have come up with something go and find some facilities already there. There is also a system for management, and they are supported so that they focus on developing their products for the market. They also provide technical support and specialized training. Later I'll show you some of the facilities, state-of-the-art facilities that we have in the country now. The Uganda National Council of Science is our regulatory agency. Science has to be managed. It has to have a lot of ethics. Otherwise, we can start creating dangerous things. So there is a lot of ethics and regulations around science. So the National Council regulates both the science, the scientists, and the science infrastructure to make sure that we are doing responsible research. Science by nature, STI by nature, generates businesses. It generates industries if well implemented. It is the science which is not properly implemented which ends up in the lab. But if well implemented, the expected outcome are industries and enterprises which we can then see. So we have to, as of the moment, we have a lot of them under incubation. So we have the main ones, and these are public, these are government owned, they are parastatals. We have the Presidential Initiative for Banana Industrial Development, PIBID. It's transitioning into BADIC. And the target of this institution, I'll talk a little bit about their work later, but the target is to commercialize banana, which is a local commodity that we have, so that it becomes internationally consumed, and that will create a market for our products. Then we have Nrm Motors, which is the pioneer into motor vehicle manufacturing. I must say I applaud these initiatives because they exhibit courage, a lot of courage. Very few people understand what they are doing, and they rarely receive an appreciation. At the Secretariat, we have the bureaus. We have a total of actually 10 bureaus. 8 are for specific industrial value chains, and 2 are for support services. And through these bureaus, we address, try to synchronize with me, the person. Yes, we address the different value chains that have been prioritized and assigned to us. And coordinate with everybody. That will is a representation of how we work. Because science is almost in every sector, it's impossible to work alone, to work independently. So you have to work with all the different players, and we'll illustrate how we've done that. So these are the bureaus. Please show the next slide. The bureaus, we have one called the pathogen economy. I'll explain more about it. It's the newest. Mobility is about movement, so the industries that go with movement. Infrastructure innovations refers to infrastructure. It also covers minerals, how the research that is required for us to build that capacity, the research required for us to produce new materials for construction. Industry 4.0 is about the fourth industrial revolution. Productivity acceleration, which is aimed at enhancing the productivity of households and generally the population. We have a very low productivity. The value that Ugandans on average produce per day is quite low. Then we have the aeronautics and space science, which is very, very new, and import substitution and export targeted STI. Each of these bureaus hosts a think tank. The think tank is made of individuals from the public, from different institutions, who are experts, who would not necessarily contribute to science, but they come together under a think tank to contribute to the thinking of how we can actually make that particular area of science work. And we have really popularized think tanks in science, technology, and innovation. And their main role is to come and think together, debate, discuss, and that way we have a lot of input in what we do. In a way of summary of achievements, this presentation will highlight. It highlights the achievements made by science, technology, and innovation over the manifesto period from 2021 to 2026, but so far we have reached where we are in 2023, in line with the sector's manifesto commitments. There is a specific section where the manifesto has committed to deliver to the citizens. By way of summary, the Secretariat is on track to meet, and in some areas, we have surpassed the manifesto targets. As this presentation outlines, notably, we are currently supporting 103 projects across the country, and each of them is either contributing or is meant to lead into an enterprise or an industry. I hope we can see this, but this is a summary of the goals and commitments made by the manifesto. So, Director, what we did is we got the commitments and we operationalized them, and we set targets. We set targets for each year and set targets for the 5-year period. And so in that first line of numbers is where we meant to reach. If we are going to make it to 2025, there are landmarks that we must attain by now. And then the last one is, how far have we chewed this elephant? How, in terms of the end of 2025, where we want to be, how much have we so far reduced? So the first commitment was to ensure that there is proper coordination of institutions and their synergies to avoid people working in silos. Our target for this year was, we have 94%, and we believe by June we will have 100% score because we have some activities that are left. In terms of the 5-year commitment, we have achieved 61% of the goal. In acquiring state-of-the-art equipment to enable institutions, as far as the target for now, where we are what we had targeted, we have got 79%. In terms of the end 2025, we are at 15%. We believe we shall move because some of the activities are scheduled for the latter years, the later years. Enhancing commercialization of innovations, the target for now, we have achieved 75%, and for the manifesto itself, we have at 46%. We strongly believe that we will be able to meet the target and give that commitment. In terms of investment in the development and the commercialization of technology, on our target for now, we are at 76%. of the manifesto 5-year commitment, 53%. Funding for innovation in the country is where we are not doing very well, because the commitment was to give 2% of the budget, and we are still running very low. Actually, in NDP, it is a commitment to give 2% of the GDP. So we are still running very, very low, and it impacts on the rest of the deliverables. Retaining scientists, His Excellency has been spearheading that. I wish to give a correction on that number for the last column. I had issues with the internet here. I couldn't download my updated. For now, we are at 70 for the target, but we are at 25% of the target for 20. I don't know if that one is corrected. We are 25 for the manifesto period. Providing effective support service to innovators. We have done a lot of work, especially in this year, this financial year, and we have achieved 50%. We believe we will catch up, manifesto 25%. Providing supportive regulatory environment, we are a little behind because we had to step back from where we thought we would take off. We found there were so many gaps that need to be filled before we do some of the things. However, we are working very hard and we hope to achieve the manifesto goal. Develop relevant human capital. The target for now, for this year, we have achieved 100%. And for the manifesto 5-year, we are at 21%. We strongly believe we'll be able to achieve the 100% once certain activities like the homing of scientists and coming up with an ethical code of conduct, and then a mechanism to take care of those who come back, because we want to attract those highly experienced people outside, but when they come back here, they don't find a conducive environment and they feel very disappointed and discourage others from coming back. We have a number of programs that we work with. To support a number of projects. The Presidential Scientific Initiative of Epidemics, called PRESIDE, we support 26 projects. National Research and Innovation Program. Currently, in the previous year, we supported 38 projects, and this year we are supporting 25 projects. And then we have some money which is for specific value chain development. We have 2 of those, sweet potatoes and shea butter. And then there was a program where it was co-funded by the EU called Leap Agree, which ended, and it was supporting 12 projects. That's the total of 103. And these projects are scattered throughout the country. So what have we achieved, apart from, why are we talking about these targets? And how have we achieved them? So I'll be doing this through the bureaus. Please move ahead. I'll present the achievements bureau by bureau. The first bureau, and maybe very interesting, is the pathogen economy. Everywhere they say that is a contradiction, but this is generated in Uganda. We should patent it. Initially, for all the time, we have seen pathogens as threats and expenses. However, since COVID, we have believed that we can also harness the pathogens to help to give us our own protection, but also to build an economy around them. Pathogens are small organisms that cause disease, like viruses, bacteria, fungi. So this bureau's mandate is to coordinate and facilitate research, development, technology transfer, and commercialization of innovations, targeting disease control and management for plants, humans, and animals. And so we focus on the research and development as well as commercialization of vaccines, diagnostics, therapeutics and the attendant ecosystem, other tools. So in terms of vaccines, we set on something that was really new, and so far we have 3 candidate vaccines for humans. 2 of them have completed, and this is a very long process under the strict watch of National Council of Science and Technology. They have completed preclinical trials, and we should begin human trials for 2023, in 2023-2024. Now, many people think, that is slow, but it is not slow. And many people call me asking, where is the vaccine? It is like asking your 2-year-old daughter, where is my granddaughter? Yes, because this is something we started from zero, and we are growing. And as far as I'm concerned, we are the only country, at least in the Eastern Central region, that has attempted to do this. We are leaders in this. So our next steps on these vaccines for humans is we have clinical trials for vaccines, as I've already said. We have putting up a pilot plant. You'll forgive us many times because it is, I think like the military, there are certain things you don't over-display. Yes, so some of the information is classified. We don't give a lot of details. We are working in collaboration with Tanzania to work together in manufacturing, especially animal vaccines. And we are just waiting for the National Drug Authority to issue a license for us to start manufacturing our vaccines for clinical trials. Both the factory is ready and the clinical trial site for animals is ready. Here, in learning, you have to learn from people, so we visited a sister country. Please move. A sister country, this is Egypt. That's Egypt. We went to benchmark and see how have they done it. They were among the first to produce a COVID vaccine on the continent. So wanted to learn from them. And next slide, please. I have some quite good news for us that at least now we have what we call a GMP vaccine manufacturing plant in the country, the first of its kind. And that's good manufacturing practice. So we have capability to do what we call end-to-end. That's from idea to final product. We can sit and think. If a new disease is come, we sit down, we think. We have people who can work throughout that value chain and create the vaccines. So this facility was a Class C, and we converted it into a Class A, which can now is just waiting for NDA to accredit. It is fully, all the equipment inside, and this is really the first comprehensive facility that we have in the country. Its first assignment is to manufacture for us anti-tick vaccine, but it's also going to be used to manufacture other vaccines, even for humans, once NDA can clear us. These are some of the equipment. Next slide. Those are some of the equipment. They look small pieces, but they are quite expensive. But as a country, we have been able to get it using funding from the government of Uganda. Next slide is also showing, this is the first, what we call it, fill and finish unit in the country. If I had had this during COVID, we would have got vaccines very quickly. But we did not have any in the country, and to establish it, you need a minimum of 8 months. So, but now, should it bring its head and try, we will be able to get vaccines made quickly. So this is the first fill and finish manufacturing line in our country. It's part of the Alpha Sun, so it's end to end. These are part of the facilities that we have in there, and this unit can make for us at least 10,400,000 doses per year. With a bit of expansion, we can add a few more units and we can double or triple that capacity. And the good thing is that this can be adapted to many vaccines, many different vaccine types. This is the Ngoma farm. Move to the next, which we are going to do the antique, the farmers. It has taken us a while, but finally we are there. The president gave us 100 acres there for use in clinical trials of animal vaccines. So that is our animal vaccine center, where we'll be doing all the clinical trials for vaccines for dogs, for goats, for cows, for everything. Apart from vaccines, also in pathogen economy, next slide, we work on therapeutics. But therapeutics are medicines that we use to treat. Vaccines prevent. You are given before you fall sick. Therapeutics, we give you when you are sick. And you all know that when COVID came, we didn't have medicines. So with the leadership of the president, he really pushed this, and our focus is on harnessing the potential of our natural medicines. Our natural medicines were abandoned at the time of colonization, and although a few people believe they work, we ignored them, we didn't put in a lot of science. What we call just observation, it shows that there is a lot of credibility that these medicines have a lot of potential. So in terms of looking at medicines, we are focusing on adding value. And for that, we took the first one, which you all heard about, UBV01N. Its main impact was to help us really learn and build the roadmap to taking these drugs into the scientific process. So now we have a very well-structured framework. We call it Clinical Trials for Natural Therapeutics, or CONAT, which is headquartered at Makerere University. And we can use it to test every drug. And the way it has been structured, that we can test multiple drugs because we want to fast track how to get these drugs. Currently, they are running 2 in the unit. Mulago gave us a ward where we run our clinical trials, and we have 24 drugs now, which we are preparing, because there's a lot of preparation you need to give them in what we call preclinical. We test them in so many stages before they are allowed to go into humans. So there are 24 in the pipeline. And these drugs have come from herbalists. We now call them indigenous scientists, not herbalists. So we call them our indigenous scientists. Some of these drugs, we really believe that once we give them the credibility and give them the science and the knowledge, we are going to land on something very great. So these are some of our scientists. The one with the mask is the Vice Chancellor of Stema University, and they were visiting. They went to the pathogen research lab to benchmark in South Africa, so that when they come back, they set up a very good research center there. One of their drugs is the one which we are taking through clinical trials now. It's a very promising drug. Then what about the diagnostics? We all have seen this, PCR test, COVID test, malaria, but we are importing all those things. And it really drains the country. So with again the directive of the president, we set up a quite strong research infrastructure to do this. And currently we have 5 PCR diagnostic kits ready. But the biggest benefit is that right now, within a week or 2, we can be able to produce something because the infrastructure is already there. And we have 7 rapid diagnostic kits. The way we do this is, instead of just doing a small part and importing others, is we try to develop the capacity to produce as much of the kit as possible. That is the only way we can benefit the country. So we have 4 projects, and these are working to produce inputs, the buffers. They're just very small things, but we were importing them. And yet we can make some of these. Some are working on plastics. Laboratories use a lot of plastics. Now we are working on locally producing those because we use them a lot in research. And then we are putting up a pilot plant to manufacture the locally made diagnostics and the construction. The contractor is already on site, and we have some of the money. We will need some to finish, but all the equipment that we need has already been procured and is in the country. Next slide. In terms of research infrastructure, which was the state-of-the-art infrastructure for pathogen economy, the Secretariat has set up several state-of-the-art central research facilities. To make sure that the country benefits, we make these facilities such that scientists from all over the country can use them. And the next slide. We have a biobank, state-of-the-art biobank. You know, scientists have funny things, but if we are going to develop a vaccine, we need to keep specimen. We need to keep things that we take from the patients to preserve them, and they become the source of the virus or bacteria which we are going to use. We had a simple facility at Mulago, so we funded it, and it increased, and it has been able to keep 20,000 samples. Before this, throughout all these Ebolas and what, we didn't have specimen that we can use if we want to develop a diagnostic, because all the specimen just left the country. The people picked them from patients and they just left. But now, if I want to do research, I can go to Mulago and pick. And we will need to expand it, because for so many pathogens that we want to work on, so we'll still need to, that's why we want to upgrade it to biosecurity level 3 and also put it at the Biosciences Park. Then we have a facility at UVRI which we use for studying medicines and vaccines before they go into either an animal or a human being. This one, our scientists came up with it. We tried to benchmark. People refused to share a lot of information, but we came up with a state-of-the-art facility. And so many times when you drink, like you take medicine, you take Morondo, whatever you take, it may cure you of what you want, but you don't know what damage it has caused. So some people will take a lot of drugs, it maintains the pressure, but it is damaging the digestive tract. And after you have managed pressure for a while, you have a cancer or deep ulcers. So to avoid that, we test these medicines on what damage they do on body cells before they ever go in. And so we set up this facility, and so far it has tested over 23 products of the natural therapeutics. These are for COVID, some are for respiratory tract infections, some are for kidney disease, influenza. We are soon taking some for cancer and some for diabetes. So it helps, and we have a lot of products that are now in the pipeline, as I said. The biomarker research is a facility that helps us to predict how a patient is going to react. For example, many people, when they got COVID, they started very simple, and many people even stayed at home, but they didn't know that they were going to go into a crisis. By the time they stopped breathing properly, it was too late. So with this facility, if you test COVID today, we can pick a sample of your blood, and we can predict that for you, you are going to have severe COVID if you don't get a certain treatment. And then the doctors can guide. And so we set up this facility, and it can test for cancer, for many other diseases. As a central facility, all scientists from across the country can work there. It's a very good facility. We are very, very proud of it. Then we have a laboratory animal house. We use a lot of animals. You've heard all the stories about Nrm mice. Yes, I'm very proud to be able to grow these mice and to use them and to have a facility, because you don't only produce them in any facility. The World Health Organization sets a standard, and the National Council there is very strict on the conditions under which that we keep these animals, so that the animals don't suffer, but also to make sure that results are not compromised. So we have set up a state-of-the-art lab animal house, and we are, this coming financial year, you've heard of those very special mice. We call them transgenic mice. Transgenic mice, in that they have genes from another animal put in them. If I want to use a mouse to study COVID, the mouse doesn't get COVID. So I have to make its body behave like a human being so that I can test my COVID in it. So we are working with Makerere to actually start a training program so that we can produce scientists who can do that. They can modify the animals, but it's all coming because now we have this facility. Then we have and we call it Nanoparticle Research Center at Makerere in the College of Engineering, where we make very useful products from seemingly useless things. One of our products, we make it from the banana weevil. The banana weevil, that one which eats your weevils, and we make out very nice particles that can be used to make vaccines work better or medicines work better. So we have a facility, and we have one of the best microscopes on the continent. I think there are only 2 on the African continent. This is a proposed, go next slide. That's the proposed pathogen economy science park. We have land, and the contractor is there. The upper picture was the team that's building the diagnostic, our diagnostic center to manufacture diagnostics in the country. And below, the STI team was had gone there to visit. So it should be a bit altered now. The next slide, I'm not sure it is going to bring out what I want. I see most of the lines have disappeared. Mine has a lot of lines connecting all those things. What we wanted to show you is that it may seem like, why are you doing so many things? However, all those things are required for us to produce a vaccine. They are required, whether you're producing 1 vaccine or 10 vaccines, you need all those things. And it takes a lot of thinking ahead and working through. Otherwise, you'll produce your 1 vaccine molecule, then realize, oh, what about the adjuvant I need to import? The test tube I need to import. The micropipette I need to import. The buffer I need to import. So by the time you finish your vaccine, it is too expensive. That's why, so all these vaccines, all these projects are closely interlinked to deliver. The good thing is, mostly when you do it, you set up those infrastructure, then you can use them for all the things. The next set of slides, I'll just quickly go through. They show the list of projects. I'm not going to read them, but we have vaccines for humans and animals, which we are working on. We have diagnostics for humans, plants, and animals. Next, we have medicines. There are projects working on different medicines, and across, I think is that the slide? Yes, I want to show the spectrum of universities. We have intensively mobilized universities, intensively. I usually go and spend a full day at each university to talk to them, because this is not what they were thinking about. They were busy doing their things with their collaborators out, and to make them trust us and work with us, there is intensive mobilization and orientation and mindset change. Let's go through, just skip through the next slides. Those are the projects that we're doing until you find the next bureau, which is Aeronautics and Space Science. We have a booklet. I don't think the copies are many, but we have a booklet which details some of these things. So we can avail if you need to know more. Aeronautics and space is, of course, to deal with flying and being in space. And so the Bureau coordinates and facilitates research, development, technology transfer, commercialization of research entities. STI is business-oriented. We look at, is there potential for money in the future? Before we even start, we must identify where is the money, where is it coming. Of course, you know Uganda is very young in terms of space. We are really, really young. When we did an assessment, we found 18 scientists in the country who have some skill in a different area. Move next. So in 2020, we sent some scientists to Japan to test, and as part of their school, they built that, we call it a tube satellite, a small satellite, which is the one which is called PALSAT-1. So our others will be PALSAT-2, PALSAT, the Pearl of Africa, and satellite. So this one was developed, and satellite technology is very, very important. If you don't have eyes in the space, then other people fly over your country, they see what you don't see. So somebody can come here and go to a villager and say, can you sell me this land, and offer a lot of money, and nobody cares. Not knowing that there is oil there is gold there, and because for you, you are walking down. So having a satellite technology is very, very important for us to develop. And this the next slide. Those are our 3 engineers, young men, very young men. They made us very proud. And right now, I'll show you some of the things we have done. But one of the biggest challenges we have is human capital. We are heavily constrained by the spectrum of skills to push the program. So at the moment, we are working on building our second satellite. So we have sent 4 engineers. We had wanted 5, but one pulled out very late. We couldn't replace him. We have sent them to Egypt, and they are working together on a program which is to build components of satellites. So we will have to build this, but also we specifically picked them from universities so that when they come back, we will work with them to establish training programs in those universities. And there are many other things that we're doing. So because the presentation is long, I've already talked about the human capital. Let's screen through that. I think the presentation has been distributed. The other place we needed was technology on the ground, because the satellite is in space, but how does it communicate down? We had Impoma Earth Station. It was really defunct. It was one of the most caring facilities I've ever been to, where you see that you can think there are some demons somewhere. So we have transformed it to be a ground station, our data center, and also a laboratory when the scientists come back where they can build their technologies. And next slide. When you look to my left, that is how it was looking, and to the right is how it currently looks. That's the transformation. So now you no longer need to close your eyes when you're passing in Poma. Look there. Look there. We are yet to refurbish that satellite dish. It is a museum piece, but something that we will be very proud of. This station was built in the 1970s. The next bureau is mobility. This is movement, and Kira Motors, you are there. This is mobility, the science of movement. Globally, this and the pathogen economy are the largest industries. The pharmaceutical industry and the automobile industry are the largest. And Uganda had not tried to to set up until I think 2018 is when we made a decisive decision to go into automobile. Sometimes I think people are impatient. They think Kira Motors has been around forever, but actually it was operationalized in 2018, and it's a parastatal fully owned by government, and the progress has been made. And if you want an answer to the common question they keep asking, are we assembling or manufacturing? We are manufacturing in the affirmative. So we are manufacturing these buses. True, we buy parts like every other car manufacturer. We buy some parts, we make some parts. But we are manufacturing, and these buses are built by Ugandans. And we have so far delivered some to clients who, you know, you don't rush to produce too many. This is technology. You have to keep studying it. So don't think it is too slow, because you don't want to make 100 buses, then find out that they have a problem. Because this is research, until you have stabilized, because this is our own bus. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's designed by Ugandans here and manufactured by Ugandans. We have so far delivered to clients a number of buses, and our target is to locally make 65% of the vehicle parts. We import quite some now, but we are working to set up other enterprises and supporting other people in the ecosystem to make parts so that we buy locally. For now, like the whole body, the whole chassis, the car seat, there's quite a lot that is made locally. We start with metals and iron and frame it and build it up. And we are using this to have the Kampala mass transit system. I don't think anybody enjoys driving around Kampala. I know people imagine what will it be if I'm just using a bus. I don't want to use, but it is very, very difficult. Now, this was a manifesto promise that we will build our own automobile company, and we will actually build the mass transit, and we will transition from, especially in the city in Kampala, from polluting vehicles to clean vehicles. And I want to inform you that we have made a lot of progress. So we launched the mass transit system. We are learning all the time. A system is something that takes a while to build. Every day we were learning something. And we have the 2 electric vehicles and the 5 tonne-car buses. They run mostly in the Northern Bypass and Tinda Circuit. Next, building, this is an interesting one. Building on the experience in Kira Motors, I was invited to Makerere to launch an engine which was developed by our boys in Katwe. They are not very educated, but we found they were stuck with this engine. It was a good innovation, but so what? So we've worked together with Kira Motors to build what we call a 3-in-1 trike. It's a 3-wheeled vehicle. Together with the Juakali, they are the ones who do the building. This is below is the progress of the body, and the engine is being made. That will be the first engine in a vehicle made in Uganda. Now we'll be able to produce our own engines end to end. So we hope that by June we will have 6 of these to try out, because it's supposed to move in difficult terrain. It is called a 3-in-1 because it can do pumping of water, it can pump water, It can carry a ton of produce. It was designed to carry a ton of produce, and it can also generate electricity quite cost effectively to power a house. So when you have one, you use the electricity in the night. In the morning, you go pump water, you harvest your things, you carry and take to the market. And all the construction is being done together by the scientists from Makerere and Chiramotos and the Juakali people from Katwe. This is the Chira vehicle plant in Jinja. The work is overall at 70% completion. Director, we made a promise that we'll make sure we complete and operationalize it. All the equipment has been ordered and it should start arriving in the country. And the first phase is fully complete, but the second phase for the body shop of the car. And this construction has been done fully, totally, completely by Ugandans. NEC does the engineering and technology consult, is a company from Makerere. So we can do it as Ugandans. We really can do this. And we are targeting to commission this facility in November, if His Excellency's calendar allows, or December, but we really surely hope to commission this. When it is done, it should produce, it has capacity to manufacture up to 20 buses per day. We can manufacture up to 20 buses per day. And the next slide is, so where are we going with this? Automotive industry is known as the industry of industries. And why strategically in the manifesto they chose this particular industry as a preferred industrial value chain is because it can produce so many other industries and create a lot of jobs. Automotive industry is a massive job creator. In many countries, they actually don't allow them to collapse. Even when it's not making money itself, they don't allow it to collapse, because collapsing one can cause millions of people to lose jobs. So if we handle this well, we can really deal a dent on the unemployment issue. I think we have already demonstrated that. The master plan has already been approved, and we have completed the pre-feasibility study and the business plan. The plan is that once we have put in utilities, we are going to invite investors to put facilities which produce parts which go into the vehicles that we make, such that there is local production. They could be you, if you work on your product, or could be people who are coming to invest, such that that's how we are going to achieve the 65%. Next slide. The president announced last year that the way to deal with the high fuel prices is for us to transition from the fuel guzzlers, because here we receive second-hand vehicles. In science, we call them end of life. It's a retirement home for vehicles, this one. So we want to move into e-mobility, and E is electric mobility, instead of, they call them MICE, the internal combustion engines. We want to, because we produce electricity, and we can have this especially in the cities. Many people are always telling me, what about our oil? Don't worry, there is a grand plan for the oil. It's going to benefit Uganda very, very well. Science is there. So we have worked on this ecosystem. Previously, when people have tried to put mass transit in Kampala, it has become very difficult. So we have taken a scientific approach. We have gathered over 80 stakeholders. Had invited our friends from Wutof. I don't know if the NA is here. Yes, those are Wutof, they're on board. Border Borders are on board. KCCA, as you look at that, everybody is on board. Our work is to coordinate and to make sure that we are still on course. So the borders, we have some targets. We would like to transform all the borders away from fuel engines to electric. The good thing with the border is you can convert, and there are already partners who are working to convert. So in both producing new electric motorbikes, but also producing, converting the ones we have, we have an aggressive target to make sure that by 2025, the borders in the city are all electric. We are working day and night on that. The other things in this e-mobility, we are positioning Uganda as a net source rather than a consumer of e-mobility tools and solutions. You know, when there is a technology change globally, everybody runs to Africa because Africa is not going to make. They come to market. Let us supply this. No, we want to be a source. We are producing to sell. At least this one, we are positioned to sell. So we are working on the batteries. The battery is the most expensive unit on an electric vehicle, but there's a lot of research now going on to make sure that we can locally produce the batteries, and we have all the minerals. Most of the minerals, we already have them. So we've started to build systems to make sure we can add value to our lithium, to our tin. We really, Uganda is so rich. And within 2-3 years, we should be able to locally produce batteries. We already have partial production where they bring in the cells but do the assembling from here, and they're exporting them to many parts of Africa already. So we target to create at least over 500,000 green jobs by 2040. Hopefully we can surpass that small number. And next, you see those are motorcycles. They are all made in Uganda. They are all electric. All of them are made in Uganda. We have a number of partners, a number of, especially private sector. Some have been researched here and developed here, including the battery and what we are working to optimize it. And then to put up the system of chargers such that when you go out with your motorcycle or your car, you don't get stranded. The next bureau is Industry 4.0. This is the fourth industrial revolution. And next slide. The focus is to locally manufacture electronics. And we have strategized this way because, again, we have a lot of raw materials here. One of our biggest raw materials is sand. It's sometimes very difficult for you to know that your computer or your phone has rare sand in it, because for us, we only pick it for construction. But we have a lot of raw materials, and so we also have a lot of young people graduated in this computer science. So we have set up a center at Nrm where they are going to design, prototype, test, and produce. Right now, they design the electronics, but they have to send the design to China. Then they are manufactured in China, then they send them back. But we're now setting up a center so that we can manufacture from here. So this is the smart electronics manufacturing, the electric control units. That should be able to, we should start at least putting out after testing by November this year. We should start putting out our units. Next, those are our girls working in the facility making electronics. These are Ugandan girls. They are working here in the country. Yes. And we have some of these facilities in the country now. You don't have the video? Okay. I thought I was showing you the video. And one of our yet underutilized facilities at Yuri. Everybody who comes from outside admires the facility we have at Yuri. It's a state-of-the-art manufacturing and machining center. It was completed around COVID time. However, our efforts to make sure we can recruit staff, Manifesto supporters, every year we don't get money. Now 3 years, we are not able to get money. So the facility is there, state of the art. People who come from outside really admire this facility. All we need is some money for staff so that we can start working. The rest of the things we will fill in ourselves because we are money makers. This is the president commissioning this facility. It's really something for us. And then our target, the next slide, is to make sure that the first stop in the manufacturing electronics is going to be making what we call wafers. Lydia, if you check in my bag, you'll find a wafer. Let the honorables look at it, because sometimes we don't know what it is. It should be in my bag, one of them. So we are undertaking a feasibility study now. We have already, next slide, yeah, that one. We have already done the value chain mapping and analysis. We have engaged the support, technical support from Germany, and they are willing to work with us so that we can locally manufacture these electronic parts. It would multiply the value of our sand by over 1,000, maybe even more. And you don't use too much, and you get something. And Rera has one of the best sands in the world. Yeah, it is almost pure silicon. So it is something like this. This is a wafer. It is something very refined, and this comes from sand. And we can do it here. For less than an investment of less than 10 million US dollars, we can start doing this. That's money we can recover in less than 2 years. Because the global market is going up, and if we can just produce wafers first, then we can continue to refine. Strategically, we can provide a lot of jobs and budget. And we have a number of projects. I'll skip that. There are a number of projects that we are working in under that Industry 4.0. Go to infrastructure innovations. I want to finish. I talked about this, what it involves. And one of the things that we're doing is the manifesto promised to put up again the state of the art, but it also promised to put up incubation centers. So this project, it is the only loan that we have in science, technology, and innovation. It's the only loan, and the implementation is going to be on time. It's ending in March. We are going to commission the facilities in December. The project is going to end on time, and the utilization of the funds is going to be on time. I know, Honorable Lumumba, you want to hear that. So we have set up a facility, the National Science, Technology, and Engineering Innovation Center. Our challenge has been, we produce a lot of engineers, but you hardly see our engineers leading projects. They take so long before they get a useful job because they don't have sufficient hands-on. And when they ask them for experience, it is not there. So you go in a job and you work at very low, and you can be there for 3 years and you've not acquired any experience. I know Professor is nodding. So we train a lot of engineers theoretically. So we have put up a facility to do what we call the Engineering Development Center, on the same concept as Law Development Center. You go to the university, all the different universities, and then come to this facility. So it's a huge facility on the way to, let me show the pictures. So when you're at Revitete, Liantonde, when you look, if you're going out of Kampala, you look on your right, there is a big facility there. It's almost complete. It can host up to 1,200 residents. They will be taking different courses at different levels, some short, some taking 2 years, but it's also a manufacturing facility. It's both for ladies and gents. So there are dormitories for women. Please encourage our women to join, because many times I find 95% men and the girls are not there. Let's encourage them to study science so that they can come. So this is this facility, in addition to, move ahead please. I've moved ahead. Move. Yeah, this facility, in addition, is also going to be a manufacturing facility. So you learn as you make. You learn as you make, so that they get hands-on from end to end. It also has machines like the ones at Yuri, machines which make machines. So when we are making car engines, which we want to make for the trike, we can actually make molds from there. Right now, we have to import all the molds, and they are very expensive. You have to order it, and it's made for you in China, then it comes in. So we will be making a lot of these things, and we hope to generate quite a lot of jobs through this facility. I'm going to skip some because the presentation is too long. Move on. As part of this project, we also have machines, and the intent of these machines is to enable small companies in Uganda participate in the oil industry. So because they get a contract, they can't afford to buy equipment, so we can lease the equipment. So we own certain equipment that NEC helps us to handle, to manage, and we have enabled at least one company get a contract and is delivering on it, a company called Rohi. Then we have a number of projects that we are supporting under infrastructure innovations. Again, allow me skip. They are in the booklet, and some of you have received this presentation. Let's go to the presidential initiative on banana. That is the next slide. This is import and export. This is one of the things we've been assigned, deliberately, scientifically, show where we can, how do we increase products of Uganda on the shelves of supermarkets, and in those shops, how can we reduce on imported goods? And we go about it very scientifically, such that we can tell you, we wanted to replace this, and we have done it. And so we go value chain by value chain. So in terms of export, we are working on the banana. Many people, I said, have not understood this project. Wheat which you eat now without thinking about, until recently when there was war in Ukraine, many of you didn't know where the chapati you eat comes from. You didn't know that it is grown in Ukraine and it is made in your house. So we hope to have banana do for Uganda what wheat did for Europe. It's our indigenous product. We want, actually the vision is to have people crave to have some banana all over the country. We want to make very delicious products from banana. And so the research has been rigorous. And at the moment, we have a lot of products. After move to the next, the first part was, can we produce banana flour at an industrial level? Because if you are just grinding, pounding in a mortar, nobody in Europe will touch your product. Your facility has to be ISO certified. But then people don't know how to eat banana. Even us, we don't know who designed the chapati, who designed the chindazi, who designed. So now we have to design the recipes such that when I bring banana, I'll tell you, oh, by the way, this flour is very good. It is very healthy. You can help you lose weight, but then how do I eat it? So that's part of the process. And now we have quite a number of marketable products. It's gluten-free. So that's how we are sending it to the world. And now we have standardized. I'm not sure whether we have got the ISO certification yet. Have we got it? It's in the pipeline. We are working because no supermarket in Europe will allow your products on their shelves. So banana is going to do for Uganda. If we support it and really scientifically follow it, people will be there in Russia eating some cracker and they don't know that it is from Ntungam. We are also for export. We are working on some very nice specialized products. We produce some of the best honey in the world. Sweet potato is a product that we have not utilized very well, so we are working on it, and shea butter is something that's craved all over the world, but for us we do it subsistently. And then the last on import substitution is the local manufacturing of school supplies. Imagine all the schools that we have in this country. They import 95% of the laboratory chemicals and the laboratory supplies, and yet we can't produce. So we found a unit at the National Curriculum Development Center producing very small, crude, at least the wooden ones, and we are working to enhance it so that the country can be self-sufficient in supplying our schools with the chemicals they need for practicals and all those laboratory equipment. So that is, and we have quite a number of projects. Allow me to talk about Apokor Cassava Value Addition Project. That project makes me smile. He's a very young man. He came, he applied for a grant, we gave him, he transformed, and right now he employs over 100 of his colleagues, his young friends who are just there. Now he employs them either in the value chain of cassava and his products, so we just need to support him now to go to the next level so that his products can go to the supermarket. Productivity acceleration, I'll quickly go. Here we try to see why is it that Ugandans have low productivity? Why is it? And many of us ask ourselves, why is it that when people open a hotel, they bring a Kenyan to be a manager? And why is it that Asians tend to bring, sometimes you think they are not good, but our research shows that the productivity of us is quite low. What the value we produce is quite low. So doing research to find out why is this and how can we enhance it. And this low productivity goes right from the village to urban centers. So we are embedded in PDM. How do we accelerate? I would like to inform you that as PDM was launched, we started a trial, a pilot, and engaged a community, a parish of 1,500 people, and without giving them money, without giving them the parish development money, we were able to increase the household income by 70%. This is scientifically documented. The data is there. Just by engaging them. And this tool is going to be availed to parish development model to take on. Next. Many of you have heard about sericulture. It's a commitment in the manifesto. Uganda has been romancing sericulture since the 1930s. And we have had at least 7 failed sericulture projects. You invest either donor, every donor, JICA, EU, all of them have had a sericulture project here and they all fail. And when we took over, we found one which was now being funded by the government of Uganda. We have undertaken a restructuring, taken an analysis of it. For those of you to understand, you have some worms. The worms feed on mulberry trees, and then they spin. So the worm is inside there, in that basket, the worm inside the white, but around it is a lot of thread. So we have now, after doing analysis, next slide, after doing a value chain analysis, we have identified the best intervention points. Next slide. that if you want to benefit from sericulture, and possibly which has led to repeated failure of the project, has been that the targeting of investment has been wrong. Because we don't have eggs in the country. The small facility which is in Kawanda has not received funding for so many years. It has been struggling, and yet we are trying to build a sericulture industry. And we discovered that most countries where sericulture is very successful, actually government makes the eggs and distributes them free. Because it is the cheapest, if you look at that graph, it's the cheapest point. So to encourage people, just make sure you get the best eggs, government invests in it, and you distribute them for free. And those graphs show the value, the price, the money, the distribution of the money. The yellow shows how much it will earn per kilogram, and the orange shows, or the reddish shows how much investment you need to add that value. So based on this research, we have now identified that, one, if we want to do sericulture, we must have a very good state-of-the-art egg production facility. And we have already started working with Kawanda to revitalize it in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, and then invest. People can grow mulberry on their own because they have been growing it, and once they have market, then set up what they call reeling, that's to unwind that thread. And so we have identified the minimum point of intervention, which will eventually unleash the sericulture industry. We are targeting external market, and so we must produce to that level. We must produce to the level of China, because China is the biggest supplier in the world. But also if we target well, then our farmers have been giving up because the cocoons don't pay. They were just selling wet cocoons, or they don't pay, so they don't get any profit and they throw it away. They leave the mulberry and they eat fruit, so they cut it down. And we also did research to see what are their issues. And now we are making decisions based on scientific evidence. We have a number of projects. Allow me skip because of the length. And now I will go to support services. Again, I'll just summarize. We have a support center. We have this STI one-stop center. It's a place, initially I was the one-stop center because everybody knew my phone, so whoever has a project, they call me. As we have built systems, now we actually have a physical place where anybody, irrespective of education level, the language you speak, you can come and find someone to talk to about your innovation. And everybody, because if we are going to make science work, we must democratize it. Everybody should have access to services. So this one-stop center is a meet and dialogue. What is it? What then we direct it to the right technical people who will then support you. We are now developing the digital form such that those who have access to phones and the info at sti.go.ug already works. If you send there a message, somebody will respond, we receive your query, and we direct it, and we spend a lot of time meeting people. We make sure it's customer friendly and very, very welcoming, irrespective of where you are. And then we have what we call the Innovation Exchange Center. I have thought about something, I have innovated it, but I don't really have the commitment to make it a business. Or I don't know who needs it. So routinely, we haven't yet started this in a big way, but we are going to start it, where we bring people who need technology and people who have it to meet and discuss. So it's like a stock market for innovations, and it will be open and it will be discussed. This is the next slide. Training our people to be investor ready. So we receive all this. Many of my people usually listen, and when they think there is an interesting one, I will sit in and also listen. So we spend quite a bit of time like this, listening to people from Katwe, listening to herbalists, listening to people with innovations so that we can identify which ones have potential. Then the startup investment business support services. Most of the people who do innovations don't progress because they don't have enough money. They don't have enough money and they actually don't know where to go. Or even they don't know if they get money. We even have some, after doing their innovation, they wrote to UNDP, they got a sizable grant, finished the grant, and the business had not taken off. Because they don't have the knowledge and skill. They are scientists, many of these are scientists, so they know their science, they don't really know business, and there is no mixing place. So the startup investment and business support services help innovators understand where they are in the journey, help them to build skills. We don't have all that within STI, we do it by linking. For example, we work a lot with UDP, not just in funding, but in identifying people who can help us to train. They'll put that. This is one of our major wins, understanding the journey from innovation. We call it from idea, we call it the journey actually. Idea from prototype to a competitive business. This is not included in our academic curricula. The scientists are trained to do prototype. They don't meet the business people or the entrepreneurs. They don't meet the businesses, and so the fragmentation causes most of the frustration and the lack of growth of our innovations. So this is one of our major breakthroughs. And next, this is the Science Week. If you missed, don't miss the one of this year. It is going to be better, bigger, and more beneficial. So this is our Science Week 2022. And the last item is the human capital development. All these areas that I've talked about are pretty new. And we don't have suitable human resource developed, but we have people trained in basics. So we put up special training and skilling. And for example, in mobility, the drivers that UTOF have in their current form cannot manage to drive the electric buses. So we need to take them through not just driving training, because they become technicians, we require more of them. So we even changed they are called bus operators, not drivers, because you have to know there's a lot of electronics, there's a lot of things. So we're transforming them, and I think is the program starting soon, the next one. We are building capacity. From pathogen economy, we're building capacity. From space, we are building capacity. And then we have a specialized STI ecosystem program that we run. And we have also set up a database and building the capacity. Next slide. And last ones, I know. Yeah, we also enhance our own capacity to think. This is one of the most fundamental trainings, a boot camp called Market Creating Innovations for Socio-Economic Transformation. So we build the human resource throughout. And we have a foundry, we call it a foundry, where we take, like engineers, put them into a 2-year internship program. First stop, change their mindset. Second stop, teach them the journey. Then teach them the soft skills. And the transformation in the first batch, which we have of 15, is if the one who is there today meets the one who came in, they would fight. So, again, there are projects there. I want to thank you so much for listening to me. It's 2 years' work compiled in one, so I apologize for the long presentation, but if given opportunity, I would still do the same. Thank you very much.
Oh. How do I explain this, you viewers and everybody, wherever you are? Can we put our hands together once again for a very big. So the message here is, some of you who didn't know what Uganda is, I think you have started seeing what it is. At one point, I had remarks like Uganda turned so kumpomera. At another point, I had leave my Musenero alone. So I had not understood the science and the philosophy behind until tonight. Honorable Minister, thank you so much. You have your presence, your presentation has really, I think, made us, some of us, like our country more. And we should also appreciate the innovation of the Manifesto Week, so that we can be able to understand on which journey we are, on the journey of transformation. Honorable Ministers, while you were doing your things here, Honorable Kamuntu, the Senior Presidential Advisor on the Manifesto, and the chairperson of the team that crafted the Manifesto, entered and is with us here. So we wish to recognize you, Honorable Kamuntu. Now, with all the excitement that I was experiencing while the Honorable Minister Musenero was presenting, I almost said, like, why don't I exempt, by the powers entrusted to me, why don't I exempt all of you from Q&A? But I said, members would still want to push a few things here and there. Now, we are now opening up for Q&A. Please be patient with us so that we go through it. And we'll try to be as fast as possible so that we are able to finish. Before we proceed, let me make my observations as the unit. First of all, Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, I want you to include the Manifesto unit on your mailing list for whenever these commissioning of these projects are happening, so that we are also there and we can come and inform the country how far we are going. Otherwise, we want to commend the sector for all the efforts they are putting, and especially on the innovations and the scientific approach on solving many of the problems of the country. I just have a few observations. One is that we have looked at innovations. You have touched it in broad terms, but I think it is important that Ugandans get to know what would be the minimum criteria and what are the areas where Ugandans can come on board. Especially, you have, especially, I don't know whether that is well explained on your website, or you have left it by saying it is, you have democratized you have democratized it. So anybody can come, whether the idea is working or not working, and in whatever area. I think that is what citizens would be comfortable with. Now, the second issue is there are so many research initiatives that have been made in this country, and more especially from the presidential initiative support. And there seems to be stagnation in terms of transition from research to commercialization. And I think it's important that a roadmap is clear, so that, like you have told us all, how we have moved the research and how far we have gone. Then, and I'm glad you have said it, that you first see where is the money. That is your riding question, even before you start on whatever innovations and changes you want to make. But many of you start as researchers, and you are good in that area, but there are also the other side of the money side, and there are also good people who know that side. So that transition from research to commercialization sometimes doesn't come so easily, and that's why maybe certain projects don't shift the way Ugandans are expecting them. And I'm very happy you have also tried to do this study on labor productivity. Maybe this could help us in the way we could also help our citizens. Actually, this productivity aspect, I don't know how you could have like a national program. Not only should we focus even on the other citizens whom we think are low, and even us, our productivity is also questionable. I don't think we are to the levels of which the country is benefiting, why it is employing us. So I think it is, if you are doing that research, try to expand it beyond the Paris development model. Also bring it to the center. Some of us may not be measuring up to the levels of why we are hired. And I think if we are dealing with the productivity index of the country, we should also be about. But I'm happy that a research has been done at that level, and our Ugandans can be helped to change the way they approach work. The issue of cell culture, this is very important. In fact, my worry is, Honorable Minister, is whether silk is still an interesting product on the world market. So that we don't invest, then at the end of the day, we find that this product has become obsolete and we can no longer sell on the world market. These are my fears, but they can be allayed and managed. Now, when it comes to the issue of the Prime Minister's office, I have not many observations. Honorable Justin, as a unit, we have been able to move this country extensively, and especially many of the programs where into the areas where many of these affirmative programs are. Our immediate observation is that we do not see so much progress vis-a-vis the support that has been extended to these areas. If you look at, because so many interventions, the Northern Uganda rehabilitation, the New Souths, now we are going into New South 4. I think we need, I don't know, and then there is Dr. Deep, then there is another one. I don't know whether all these programs have been evaluated vis-a-vis the original objectives and their intentions. And government has also been supporting through what I would call the mainstream financing of budget. Because if you are saying we are providing a secondary school per sub-county, and then Dr. Deep is also introducing support in education, and New South is also supporting in education, are we aligned so that we don't have a duplication, a clash of investment in some of these areas? And the areas seem not to be coming out of the poverty grip with all the efforts. I know the war was a big issue. So could it be, maybe we need to change the strategy and see what we can look at other intervening factors as opposed to those we have prescribed in these programs. The specific one is of Ruwero, where up to now, people are still demanding a casino. I don't know whether we are still dealing with the people who fought. Oh, now I thought Ruwero now has Wazukuru. If they are also still demanding compensation for participating in the war, then this could be an ending hemorrhage of support. But that said and done, those are our observations at the unit. However, we would also wish to see the strengthening of the coordination of the Office of the Prime Minister as proposed in the NDP3, so that we can see government properly coordinated, especially in areas where the deliverables are multi-sectoral. We need a strong position of coordination in those areas. If you are saying we want to have an industrial park, and the industrial park is not about land, there is water, there is electricity, there is IT, and all these need to be done. So who is whipping all these agencies to make sure that at the end of the day we have a deliverable called an industrial, functional industrial park. And I'm just using this as an example, but we can look at so many other areas where coordination is very, very strong. And maybe on behalf of the unit, we will reach out to look at the different interventions and see how they are spread within the districts for purposes of disseminating this information. Because for us, we are there, we are engaging local government leaders, and they would like to be hands-on with our information. If we say we have distributed iron sheets, how many district local governments have received? And if you say we have distributed goats, how many district local governments have received these goats? And then when we have these engagements, we can be able to assure the leaders that this is how far we have gone. And we also use them for validation purposes, by the way, where some of these things may not have reached. They could be good sources of information on what's going on. So I want now to invite you, the public, and make your comments so that we can allow the two ministers make their responses, and then we close this session. I thank you. Who is moving the microphone? Where is my team? Yes, Francis.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Right Honorable Minister, the one in charge of general duties, and Honorable Minister Monica Musenero. I'm called John Kusolo. I write for Nile Chronicles. Now I'm speaking as a patriot, as a Ugandan, besides what I practice. Madam Musenero, is it realistic? You're talking about 4G, but now the world is in the 5th industrial revolution. I expected you to hint on that, but there was nothing about that. Yet now it's all about artificial intelligence supplementing the human resource. Then on the STI, your ministry, why don't you include the component of entrepreneurship? I also wear two hats besides being in the media. I'm privileged, I got an opportunity maybe from God, but Professor Balunywa, who I know is your friend, told me he wants to teach me how to fish. Now I'm learning how to fish. MOOBS has an entrepreneurship, innovation, incubation center. So why don't you add the component of entrepreneurship on STI? Then let's be realistic. Let's look at the Uganda internet penetration. Because I Googled, I saw it was at 24.6% of the total population at the start of this year. Now all those innovations you're talking about without internet coverage around the whole country, are those targets achievable? Then lastly, to Right Honorable Kasule Lumumba. Mi katika nchi ze mu Luganda nze nva Bududa. Kale tata ava manafa, mama ava Bududa n'ekinteeka Bududa, mama yandekera akatake Bududa. Ne Ministry, Office of the Prime Minister, pulira programs zammwe USAF, Luwero Triangle. I think mwandibadde priority mugiwe eggwanga lyonna, not only nga mukulu director wagambye nti mulinga abatunulira ebitundu ebiyise mu ntalo. Kati ffe nga Bannayuganda tusaba nti ezo programs zigende buli wamu, Northern Uganda, North East, kaze nva Bududa nga enkuba luckily enough tenakujja sibeera mu nsozi naye webezze government wetuyambira nga ettaka mudslides zimaze kujja. So mbadde nsaba Official Right Honorable Kasule Lumumba mubenga programs zino zonna zigenda at every corner of the country, which I love as a Ugandan. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Next.
Good evening, Madam. I just wanted to ask, my name is Innocent Kaiza, I'm a freelance journalist. I wanted to ask about the buses. I see these Tondeka buses, they look very nice, but they only go in selected places. We're just wondering, when are you rolling out to these other different destinations like Natete, Busega, maybe Entebbe? Because we need to decongest the city. The taxis we sit in are very old, and we see your buses are new, but they are very few. We have a problem of congestion in town. what is impeding you? Why can't you just manufacture more buses like the big man from Kila? Why can't you just bring these buses and we get rid of these taxis that are actually very old and potentially very dangerous?
Okay, next. We are moving in another way.
Thank you. My name is Woji Buyera from East African Watch, an online media house. My question goes to the Office of Prime Minister, Madam Kasule. When Nrm came to power, I was in primary 5, something like that. And one of the 10-point program was helping the suffering Karamojong people. Now, almost 40 years later, Karamojongs are dying of hunger. Karamojong's kids are streets over the country. Maybe I can give compliment for disarming the Karamojong, because I also am I'm a neighbor to the Karamojongs. I'm speaking on behalf of the Karamojongs. So what is the problem? Personally, I have seen a problem in Karamoja. The short rains in Karamoja. What are you doing? Even this question can go to the technology part. Do you have any innovations to ensure that these people of Karamoja get water? We can have man-made rivers so that these people of Karamoja get water, get rain, and then this business of them dying of hunger, their kids roaming around the streets of the country is ended. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you very much, Director. My name is Aupio Bob, a citizen and former RDC. I want to thank the ministers for their presentation and the directors for observation. One of my observations is not very far from my friend now here. The monitoring, the first one goes to OPM, monitoring of government programs. The monitoring of government programs vis-a-vis the issues of barazas. As one of the persons who worked in Karamoja for over 3 years, the monitoring of government programs in Karamoja has always been a challenge. The OPM under KIDP is very small on the ground, very thin on the ground. And as an intervention, many of them used to even do programs in other districts, even visiting. They could even visit Karamoja through Soroti. And as we enforced this, the changes were there. And as these problems were also being addressed by even the First Lady when she was in Karamoja, all this disappeared. And the insecurity in Karamoja was also addressed. The programs in Karamoja were addressed. But as per now, these things have started again. Many of these things have started again, in extent that even the commanding officer there has been removed because of the challenges of implementing security and the programs. I would even say, when you talk of the dialogues in Karamoja, the KIDP uses younger men. How can a younger man implement and talk to an older man of over 50 years? You employ a man of 20 years to go and talk to a man of 60, 50 under Karamoja. Those people talk of elders. That's one of the areas we have observed and which should also be observed by all of you. Secondly, when we talked of the other programs like the disarmament, there were so many good programs in the disarmament, but as the OPM, I have not seen any meeting of Karamoja from today here that you are talking about the dialogue of the people, even the issues that there's a baraza in Karamoja about the Karachunas meeting. I didn't see. I only saw the handovers of a school and whatever. Even when they were meeting the Pokots, that's not enough. Thirdly, there is issues that we're talking of compensation of other regions, including Karamojong. If this could have been done, and other regions like in Teso, if we could have a good dialogue in Karamoja, the Karamojongs are now talking that they should also be compensated. Why is this program not with OPM and government? Now, the guys are compensating themselves by raiding. Now, if we don't do this, I think the guys will remain poor, but they will also keep on raiding themselves and going to raid other regions. Just as we talk now, they have also crossed up to Lango, Nacholi sub-region. So if we don't address this, the poverty level in these regions will be a problem. And you remember the president has recently been in northern Uganda. Lastly, Your Excellency, you are honorable ministers. I want to end there, but I want to talk to the science department, to the Minister for Science. As innovation, we have tried too good, it has been too good innovations for Uganda, but what do we do about those that are running? Especially, we already have machines, motor vehicles, motor bicycles, and motorcycles which are already running. Where are we trying to remove all the old ones and bring new ones? That should actually be coming from this meeting. Because according to the survey, over 50,000 motorcycles are there in Uganda. Where are you going to take all that? And at least many of them, that is their job. We even have graders riding these motorbikes. And if we are coming like that, who are going to fund that? Thank you very much, Director.
Okay, next.
My name is Isaac Nwagawa. I write for New Vision. My questions center on, according to the report that was read by the Ministry of General Duties, you say that you assess and manage private wings in government hospitals. And you also cited that there is drug stockouts in health centers. So my question is, are private wings in government hospitals and health facilities causing drug stockouts under your watch and assessment? Because I would want you to highlight on what was the reason behind creating private wings in public health centers, yet we receive very many people, including vulnerable communities, in these facilities. Secondly, the ministry has said that you gave out 236 hybrid cows, 400 improved goats, and 19,263 iron sheets. And recently, we have had an issue where some communities did not receive their intended allotments. So, what do you intend to do to these vulnerable communities that did not receive their iron sheets and goats? Thank you.
Next, Honorable Kamonto. We shall come like this again.
Thank you very much indeed. I want to thank the Manifesto Implementation Unit for organizing this week. And I really want to thank the ministers and the commissioners for the presentation this session. Now, two things. Fortunately, Honorable Kasure Lumumba is Secretary General Emeritus of the party, and he supervised us under the guidance of the president when we were drafting the manifesto. So what I wanted her to share with us in the presentation, and you have hinted on it, Director, the challenge that we have had on manifestos, the 5 of them previously, they have helped for the country to be moving towards takeoff stage.
the office of the Prime Minister is intended to actively supervise and coordinate the implementation of the manifesto so that by the time frame we have set, 2026, the economic takeoff promised in NRM 1986, the takeoff stage is really reached. Now, when the office of the Prime Minister implements programs as you have outlined, education, water, and so on, who will monitor you? Who will supervise you? How will we know that indeed we are monitoring and progressing on the journey for economic takeoff? Or whether, in your own opinion, you wouldn't concentrate on the mandate of coordination, of supervision, and leave the implementation to others. I also wanted, if your technical person is here, to reproduce slide 13. If the technical guy...
Francis, I don't know where
Francis, just reproduce slide 13. This slide 13 is very helpful on Honorable Monika's presentation, and I would want the Manifesto Implementation Unit to take a hard look and see whether this wouldn't be useful for application across board. Slide 13. If you look at slide, it is reproduced, it's on the screen. If you look at the slide here, is where are we today? And Manifesto Review Week every year should be trying to help the country to know where we are on the journey in implementing the manifesto. And it is statistical, it helps. He shows you the commitments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the line. He shows you where we are right now. He also shows you where we would be if we maintain this trend. In other words, if you go one by one, by 2026, it is right there, measured on the effective coordination. Yeah? Anything 61, 46, 53, and so on, when you measure it on the journey that we have only spent 2 years out of the 5, 2 out of the 5 would give you 40%. These numbers would show that indeed, on some of them, they are clearly on track. Some of them are almost doing extremely well, but on others, there is still work to be done. And it is statistically indicated, it helps. Now, if this can be applied for all the reviews of ministries we have done, it would help the secretary, the unit, implementation unit. If this framework can be elaborated upon and you apply it across board to show you the extent to which you are moving toward the target. Remember, this manifesto, this manifesto has put targets. If transformation and lifting the country from where it is to middle income status, you need this monitoring, which is statistical. And we want to commend the Ministry for Science and Technology. This is, I think, the way we should go if we are going to catch up. So I have raised 2 issues. One is for the Secretary General Emeritus, and the second one is for really the Manifesto Implementation Unit. It could help so that, as you have seen, ministries have taken advantage of this week to give more than, to account, and it is useful. But this accounting, if you want to make it focused so that it is not omnibus, this statistical analysis is very useful, and I thank you.
Next.
Thank you, Honorable Ministers. You are most welcome. Our MC, my name is Sechaya Carlton, the General Secretary, Federation of Uganda Taxi Operators. Honorable Mine, first of all, I would just like to thank you for your efforts. Maybe I would ask this House kindly to allow me maybe to express my issues in Uganda so that they can come up more comfortably. Honorable Minister, the mbadde nga mpulira President olumu ng'akaayana mundekere mu Senero. Kati ffe nga tetukitegeera nnyo naye ndowooza abatakisi ffe twaddako okutegeera. President ng'amaze okukaayanira enkwata gy'okwatamu ebintu butuufu singa ffenna twali over-exaggerated nga Parliament bwe yali ekoze twali tufiiriddwa omuntu ow'omugaso. Ffenno twakufunamu era bwe wakimanya tukwebaza ng'abatakisi enkwata gy'okwatamu ebintu tutambulira ddala ku peegi emu naawe. Abantu bangi bazze tebayingeejinga abantu nga tebabasisinkana. Olumu ne baleeta communications okuba eziri contrary nga President wakati awo alina gaapu nnene eyiye bye yeetaaga n'abantu wansi ne kituuka okulabikanga nti abantu bawakanya ebya gavumenti naye wakati awo wabaawo ekiba kibulawo. Honorable, ffe okuva lwe twakusisinkana tuli bumu nti twakkiriza nti nga President bwe yatusuubiza nti batabani temweraliikirira enkyukakyuka kuba yatugamba baasi zijja ffenna ne tukkiriza ng'abatakisi naye n'atugamba mwe mugenda okukyukira muli mu public transport n'alagira abakulu awo ab'enjawulo ebintu byonna ne babikola. In fact it was 2005 twasookera omusinkana. Up to now twagenda okuwulira tondekezi, tugenda okuwulira ate kaliita oweeri manyi kaseesewa ate naye azze town service waffe wetukolera. Naye bwe twajja ne tukusisinkana ne tukunnyonnyola ebintu ebyo Honorable wabitegeera n'omanya nti bano be bantu abatuufu abalina okukyukira mu mulimu. Kati abawa President eri information bamugamba abatakisi baagaanyi tebamubuulira baagaanyi ku ki. Ffenna eno ye national cake yaffe ng'abatakisi gye twagabana ku ggwanga lyaffe ng'abatondeka nabo abali mu technocrats balina keekisi zaabwe ez'enjawulo, abalala accountant, abalala baki bala tuwulira balimu NSSF. Ezo department zaffe zaabwe. Kati naffe tusaba mwongereemu amaanyi nga gavumenti mututeeketeeke. Ffe tetulina buzibu, tujja kuleeta public transport ey'omulembe ng'ate sente ziva mu gavumenti zidda mu kira motors ya gavumenti, ate abakozesa baasi tuli bannayuganda ate bwe tusasula UDB and others. Abantu bannayuganda tusaba tukwotinge bulungi naddala ba technocrats abali mu gavumenti bawa nnyo President amawulire agatali matuufu ne batuuka okuleeta bodies ezitali ntuufu. Kati like as per now tulwanagana na bubaasi buno baateeka ku Northern bypass nti bwo bwajja ne buyingira mu mulimu gwaffe nga bannannyini weetuli. Kati ffe bwe tubulaba bwe tuti nga tubuma parking nga tubugoba kubanga ffe butugoba tuveewo ate bwo butwala omulimu gwaffe. Ffe nno twali tulina enteekateeka, Right Honorable Minister Lumumba, nti tugenda kuligisteringa sakozi zaffe amastage gonna golaba ku luguudo lwa Northern bypasses nti abantu abagenda okubeera affected bennyini baasi ezo bwe zijja bwe tumala obaligisteringa at the end of the month, end of the week, percentage eyo ejja kubanga edda mu bantu abo bennyini abali affected. So si kuleeta investor ajja aleete baasi ate abantu baffe babenga tebakyayina mirimu. Honorable Minister owa Science tukwebaza nti bwe twakunyonyola ebintu ebyo wabitegeera bulungi. Waliwo muganda waffe ava okwogera ku baasi ayagala zigaziwe. Sebo muganda waffe ekyo ffe tugenda okukikola nga tuli wamu ne ministry eya science ne bakadde baffe aba Kira Motors. Naye ebintu bigenda step by step. Olwaleero ogamba oyongereko bus ku congestion gye tulina mu kibuga oba tulina kyokoze. Tulina okusooka okutunula nti takisi zino kati eziriwo bwe tujja takisi tuzaawo ki tituzaawo bus. Currently abantu bainvestinga mu takisi era muziraba nnyingi. Right Honorable Minister, mbasaba obubaka bwe mutwalira President nti weetaaga wateekeweewo recapitalization mechanism nti nga muganda bwagamba nti emmotoka zikaddiye kituufu kuba emmotoka empya ze twali tusobola baazigaana okuyingira ne baleeta zino drone za bbeeyi to maintain and even for purchase kati tetuzisobola katukanika ziri naye wanaateekebwawo recapitalization mechanism. Baganda baffe abakira Motors weebali ebyuma basobola obisaanuusa ate ne tufunamu ebyuma ebigumu ebitukolera bbaasi ez'omulembe then ne tuintegratinga ne system eriwo eya bbaasi eggwanga kati gye liriyayaanira. Ekyo tusaba maama mutuuse ewa taata w'eggwanga jjajjaffe nti twagala wabeewo enkola etugulako obumotoka buno ffe tutambule n'omulembe ogwo baguliwo. Tulina ekizibu maama science and technology Madam Monica Honorable nti enguudo ze tukoleramu ffe ye business fe awatali nguudo public transport ebanfu naye tetumanyi ba engineers bano abakola enguudo oba nabo bali part of your initiative. Abantu abo ndowooza nja kukubira kasimu sijja byogerera wano nja kulabikanga aboogeredde mu ngeri emu oba endala ate baleme kusanyuka naye nja kukubira akasimu nkunoonye ekintu ky'enguudo kitumenya. Enguudo mu Uganda bazikolera ssente nnyingi mu nsi yonna. Uganda ekyali expensive mu nguudo zaayo really third world country developing country kintu ekyo kituluma nga bannayuganda.
Jerry con. Jerry con. Hey, Master Blaster. Touch him, man. Bang Jerry con with muscle. Those ones who say go for you only. Mundava. First group is I teach you. But never come with the muscali. Because of the cover that is very far. Is you serious? It's yes you. What? Yeah? You step it on it. Add kilometers to your legs. And you get your sugar. We buy meat from Umaru. And Umaru refuse to give you enough meat. Mama! Show him that they don't joke with you. Umaru,
okukakaluka n'okulungi kwetaagako omuntu akuyambako n'olwekyo tujja kukuteerawo embeera esaanidde osobole okukola ekisinga awamu teri kitulema.
Ladies and gentlemen, this June 2023, we celebrate 33 years of a legendary school music doctor and professor, Sir Paul Saka, live at Kampala Serena Hotel, Victoria Hall, in a live music concert, dubbed 33 years of Paul Saka and school music in Uganda. All happening on 11th of June 2023 with Ramana Makula, Pastor Wilson Bugembe, Helena Nanjego, Stella Kayaga, Flona, Namkasa Bettina, Flash Love, Rebecca Jingo, Catherine Kusasida, and Sir Message Semakula. On 11th June at Serena Hotel, Victoria Hall, entrance is 100,000 shillings, 50,000 for students, and a table at 2 million. For reservations, call 0782-222-550 or 0701-043727. Sponsored by UBC TV, Star TV, Star FM, Magic TV, and all UBC radios. Budo SS, Hardware World, Clever's Origin Schools, St. Michael and Thomas Junior Schools, Nansan Achebando, Lady Valeria Vocational and Business College, and Silk Events.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Uganda is rich in natural resources and hard-working people. But to turn these resources into real progress and development, we need to invest in our infrastructure, education, and healthcare. That's where taxes come in. When we pay our taxes, we are investing in our country's future. We are supporting the schools that educate our children, the hospitals that care for our families, and the roads and bridges that connect our communities. And when businesses pay their taxes, they are contributing to the growth and development of Uganda's economy. They are helping to build a stronger, more prosperous nation for us all. So when you pay your taxes, you are investing in the future of Uganda and supporting the progress and development of our nation. Uganda is because of you.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
The Magical Egypt Tour 2023 is here. A heavenly miracle waiting across the natural and divine attractions of Egypt, such as Cairo, Giza Pyramids, Saqqara, Memphis, and many more that will offer the gift of a lifetime. The chance to unlock all of the hidden powers of mind and soul, gain the enlightenment of the past and the future, and develop the power of healing. Departure will be Friday 16th up to 23rd June 2023. Basic package starting at $1,200, 8 days and 7 nights. To register, come to Gotove Tours and Travel at Nalkwago Complex Suta, UG's Extender, George Street, Nakasero, or call +256 758 530 059 or +256 784 568 392 or WhatsApp +256 782 556 078. Only few slots are left. Powered by UBC Television.
Kayo. Naye ddala oyagala kuba akinga okuze kuvuga ennyonyi okakasa gwe Kayongo ovuga ennyonyi usemesa kuvuga ennyonyi
Uganda Aviation Expo 2023 mwoleso gwa nnyonyi nga guli ku kisaawe Entebbe leta abaana balabe bawulize bayige ku misomo gy'ebyennyonyi naawe omusuubuzi omutambuze oba oyagala okulambula uganda jangu okuyingira shinja emitwalo 5 ennyonyi ya mitwalo 2 ate mwe abagala vip emitwalo 30 baasi zino zidaboddeeka zakubanona ku city square ebusega ku express highway ne namboole obutasukka ssaawa 7 otambulira bwereere amasomero agayigiriza abaana ebyennyonyi muleete abayizi mu uganda aviation expo 2023 wali entebe ku kisaawe okuva nga 22 paka nga 24 June.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
It's a Caesar, what belongs to Caesar. Give me more, I never want a teaser. Coming close, make my mind freeze up. Temperature rise like a desert fever. When could be a baby, hold on. Linda, girl, you should hold on. You get me waiting, I will hold on. Jacqueline, Linda, go, Jacqueline, Linda, go, yeah. When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasize, yeah. When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasize, yeah. When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasizing. When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasize, yeah. Your body good, don't go back on Tamisa. Yeah, yeah. Cast over water, chiweza that chica. Chile automatic, I'm killing me, yeah. Drum, 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 masamu sipia. I'm a cheerleader, Gucci my dear. 1, 2, 3, I'll with me. Slow one in the dancer. She a wine in the Caribbean, yeah. You can tell me how you want it, baby. Do you like it slow or like it fast, baby? When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasize, yeah. When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasize, yeah. When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasizing. When you're looking at me, eyes miss me, fantasize, yeah. To Caesar, what belongs to Caesar. Give me more, I never want a teaser. Coming close, make my